It's gonna be healthy, it's packed with protein and fiber, and most of all, flavor. So the 5 ingredients here, we're gonna use just pre-cooked chicken. You can do this ahead of time in your meal prep, or you can buy a rotisserie chicken and cut it up. And of course, sweet potatoes, 1 per person. Some cilantro, that's gonna be our green veggie. Store-bought shortcut is some Madras curry sauce. This is gonna go so well with the sweet potatoes. It's really gonna boost just like a simple kind of plain chicken and sweet potatoes. It's got the coconut cream in there, but also garlic, ginger, lots of spices. I mean, that's gonna be good. And then for some added nutrition, bulk it up, fiber, and more protein, some chickpeas. Start by getting your potatoes cooking. You can do this in the oven or in the microwave. Give them a little poke. I've already washed them. And then I always cook sweet potatoes on foil lined or parchment lined baking sheets because they tend to ooze and get a little sticky. In we go. Those usually take about 45 minutes. I'll go ahead and get my simmer sauce going, and this is what we're going to stuff the potatoes with. So I am gonna use my favorite pantry staple that goes in almost every single thing I make, an onion. This just kind of helps take something that's store-bought and make it taste a little more homemade. All right, so then everything else just gets mixed together in a pan. In a skillet, add some olive oil, get the onion going. Gonna add just about a half a teaspoon of salt to help it soften up. And then you wanna cook this down until the onion is translucent. That way you don't get, you know, a crunchy bite of onion because the sauce isn't gonna take long to cook. And also that's where the maximum like aromatics can, you know, kind of leach out into the rest of the dish. So just let it go about 4 minutes. All right, when it's starting to get translucent, go in with our simmer sauce. Then I'm gonna add a little water to the jar, kind of stretch the sauce a little further. Oh my God, immediately it smells so good. And then I'm also going in with the chickpeas. A lot of times when you do a chicken curry like this, it has cubed up sweet potatoes in it. So the fact that we're serving it in a sweet potato just makes sense. All right, and then I'm also just gonna go in with the chicken, and I'm just gonna let it kind of simmer in here for about 10 to 15 minutes. This is a meal where if I was making it for my kids, like my son's not gonna eat it like this, but he will eat the chicken, he will eat the sweet potato, and he'll just keep that separate. So I'm not cooking 2 dinners, he's just missing out. I'm just gonna cover it and let it simmer for about 10 minutes. This one may be the easiest of the day. Definitely the most interesting. All right, we have our baked sweet potato. Give it a smash, fluff it up a little bit, and we're gonna load it up because we've gotta get our protein in, you know? And you wanna get a little bit of everything. The cilantro is what's gonna make it. If you are one of the people that does not like cilantro, you gotta put something fresh on top. Green onions would be a great substitute here, but this is gonna be so good. You could also serve this with, you know, some green beans or a salad, but I had to keep it 5 ingredients. This right here is a complete meal. There's gonna be so much flavor in that sauce that you really don't have to add any extra seasoning. Look straight in with the fork, straight out with the perfect bite. I'm telling you, if you love a sweet potato curry or really any kind of curry, this is the perfect dinner. This to me is the ultimate New Year healthy dinner, looking for something different to break up the weekly meal rut. Chicken, curry, sweet potatoes, 5 ingredient dinner is the meal for you. For my final trick, I am bringing out some carbs with this high protein meal. We are doing a 5 ingredient high protein pasta bake, starting with the pasta. You want to choose whatever high protein pasta you like. I couldn't really find a lasagna noodle that is high protein, so I'm doing a rigatoni. There are lots of protein options out there. This is the one I like because it tastes more like pasta. I know it doesn't have the most protein of any. They have these that are like 20 and 21 grams of protein per serving, but you gotta look at the servings to really make it make sense. All pasta has some protein in it. And if you're looking for extra fiber, you may just want like a whole wheat pasta here. And they do have the whole wheat lasagna. You do whatever you like. I'm gonna do whatever I like. Ingredient number 2, store-bought sauce. If you make your own, you may have more ingredients than 5, but shortcuts when it comes to 5 ingredient dinners. Cheese, I've got the Italian blend cheese because it's more than one variety of cheese and I can keep the ingredient list down. And then instead of ricotta cheese, we're gonna do cottage cheese. I like to find the super small curd, or do what I do. If you find the large curd, just whip it up a little bit with your blender or food processor, and then you're gonna get more of the texture of that ricotta cheese. But this has a lot of protein in it. 13 grams per serving. But the bulk of our protein is gonna come from our meat. So we have 3 really good sources of protein here. All right, so I'm just gonna start by cooking my pasta and my meat. I'm using a lean ground beef, so I'm gonna start with just a little bit of olive oil in to, you guessed it, cook some onion. Just gonna boost that flavor a little bit since we're using a store-bought sauce. All right, when that gets going, go in with your ground beef. Just gonna add in just a little bit of salt, pepper, and garlic powder. All right, then once this is good and browned and crumbled, then you stir in your sauce. What's good about sheet pan lasagna is that it's gonna cook in less time than regular layered lasagna. Plus, you get all the crusty bits on the outside. That's what makes it so good. While that's cooking, I'll go in with my pasta. You're just gonna cook it till it's al dente, and you wanna salt the water. That'll take about 10 minutes. This will take about 10 to 15 minutes, and then we'll get it on the sheet pan. Eating healthy and getting facials. You're gonna return your pasta to the pot and stir the sauce in. You could stop here, but why? I'm about to make this triple delicious. On a sheet pan, drizzle some olive oil. You want this to go all around the edges because this is what's gonna help that pasta get a little bit crispy. All right, then down goes our pasta. Alternatively, you could do this in just a baking dish and make it like a layered baked pasta, like just baked ziti. But I'm telling you, this really just gives it kind of like a whole different experience. And because we're using high protein pasta, sometimes the texture is not the same as, you know, our traditional pasta that we know and love. So to make it kind of extra crispy, just kind of, I don't know, kind of helps it along. Now for the cheese. So I'm gonna mix the cottage cheese that we've blended up a little bit. And then I'm gonna mix in some of the Italian blended cheese also into this, along with a little bit of garlic powder, salt, and pepper. If you wanted to do a 6th ingredient, this would be the time to add it, and you could add in some chopped spinach or fresh basil here. I am missing the veggie in this dinner, so you could just serve it with a little salad. Okay, and then we're gonna dollop this over the pasta. My dad uses cottage cheese instead of ricotta cheese in his lasagna normally. I think a lot of people do that. So this really isn't weird. It's not really a high protein hack. People have been doing that a lot. And then we're gonna sprinkle on the rest of the cheese and pop it in the oven. You're gonna cook this at a pretty high temperature. You wanna go about 425 until everything is bubbly and kind of crusty around the edges. Oh my God. Crusty bits all over. Don't look at this and think like it's dried out. We want all that on the top, and underneath is all the saucy goodness. I am garnishing with some Italian parsley. Just gonna sneak a bite. See, everybody would just want to pick around this pan, but because it's in the sheet pan, everybody's gonna get their own piece like this, and they can do this all they want. You can even eat this meal with your hands. I give you permission. Just makes it more fun. The 5 ingredient, high protein sheet pan pasta bake. This really makes the high protein pasta seem like regular pasta, I'm telling you. You just kind of changed it up a little bit to give it a more kind of interesting texture. See, crusty on the top. That little chewy, cheesy crispiness is to die for. But then it's still really saucy on the bottom. I'm not mad at this at all. That little cottage cheese, Italian cheese mixture. Let's see how that is. You're gonna have to trust me on this one. You wanna make this pasta bake. Even if your goal is not high protein, it should be your goal to put this on the dinner table sometime this week. I really think these recipes are gonna help you hit your protein and fiber goals this year. Either way, you're putting something delicious on the table. Let me know which one you try first.